You might fail your fantasy leagues if you do not pay attention to the storylines in training camp. We're talking about 10 risers today that could have a huge impact due to what's going on in training camp right now. Before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're talking about what these players are doing behind the scenes at practice every day. We're doing player rankings, ranking your running backs and wide receivers, talking draft strategies. We're helping you set your lineups. It's all here. It's free. Click that button. Stop missing out. But the first player we're talking about today, Pat Bryant. Have not talked about him much this year. I should have talked about him a lot more. He's making waves in camp, guys. They're talking about him a lot. The beat writers like him. And I understand there's a lot of players beat writers like that don't pan out. But also that's going to affect ADP. That's going to affect buzz. He's made some plays. He's already made a couple big grabs. Some people are talking about how he's a candidate to climb the depth chart by the end of the season. Cheap draft capital right now. And the thing about this, if you look at everything around him, when it comes to ADP, there are not many upside candidates at the wide receiver position due to the wide receiver class in this year's draft not being strong, not having that much depth. He would really help out this wide receiver class if he pans out. If something happens to his depth chart, one thing to point out, Courtland Sutton's looking good. He's looking good, but if Father Time steps in, then things are going to have to change. But Courtland Sutton's looking good in camp. That's one thing to point out. But he's also playing well for a rookie. He's also been playing well in minicamp and OTAs. They drafted him in the 3rd round. He's one of their candidates. They put a mark on him saying, hey, we like Pat Bryant. We're going to pick him up. Has a good dominator rating coming out of college at 90th percentile. Breakout age is decent. Target share 75th percentile among wide receiver prospects. There's some good things to his name when it comes to productivity coming from Illinois. And on top of that, okay size. But beat writers are noticing he's doing some things on the field. You may want to pay attention to that. However, he's in lottery ticket alley with some of those running backs. But if you're too deep at running back, or if you're getting sick of the running backs, you got too many on your roster, and you're looking to somebody to pivot to, Pat Bryant, Jalen McMillan for upside, Jack Betch, that's another upside candidate. And you got the veterans, too, in this area of drafts to look at. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is becoming a big deal. Another training camp dandy. We're hearing a lot more talk from the beat writers. He's got good vision, a good dead leg. His feet is nasty. He's very smooth. He's very patient, and he's good in the open field. You look at the depth chart here. Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson Jr. Do you expect both those running backs to go a full season without getting hurt? Jeremy McNichols is still there. However, he is a testament that other running backs can be productive in this offense. He did it last year. He had some weeks where he's viable in fantasy football. He probably won somebody some money in DFS. But the beat writers love this kid. They keep talking him up. He's a late round pick with a lot of upside. But 7th round picks, 6th round picks, 5th round picks from this year's draft at the running back position is different compared to many other years because how deep the running back class is. Deep at the top, deep at the bottom. One of the most talented draft classes of all time. He's not really getting drafted on Underdog Fantasy. His ADP is below the grid line for the 18th round pick. Some people are drafting him because they see this, but keep in mind, you need to have your finger on the trigger at least off the waiver wire. He's a guy to pay attention to. Those last few picks, you need to be picking up lottery tickets with a lot of upside. Those rookie running backs, year 2 running backs, young wide receivers, guys that could go nuclear if something happens. This is one of them. We're going to have some lottery tickets on the waiver wire that don't get drafted in home league drafts. And you need to know who they are. But you may want to draft him anyways because he's in the same spot as some of those lottery ticket running backs who are getting drafted 18th, 17th, 16th, 15th round. And he's just an injury or 2 away. And if that happens, he has the potential to go boom for you in fantasy. When you look at the run game for the Dallas Cowboys, there's a lot of questions still. You look at the offensive line, can that gel together? You look at this running back competition, who's going to win it out? Javonte Williams has been running with the ones with Miles Sanders. Both those 2 running backs have been running with the ones, and I have to throw him out there because going into minicamp and OTAs, there was a lot of publicity on Miles Sanders. Nobody was talking Javonte Williams up. People were nervous about him. The one thing about the Dallas Cowboys during that time in OTAs and minicamp is they kept things quiet. There wasn't much footage of what was going on. The beat writers wasn't really getting access. Whatever was leaking out was never really 100% true or 100% face, because nothing was really getting out because they weren't allowing it. That's what I've been noticing. I had to pull teeth getting clips on these players. George Pickens, Jaden Blue, the guys you've been wanting to pay attention to during that time. That's how I know. Javonte Williams had some good runs in training camp, and you got to watch this running back battle between these two. You're also watching Phil Maffa, Jaden Blue, see what they're doing. They're running with the 2s and 3s, but you're watching those two running backs. They could be just sharing the workload going into week 1. He's getting drafted around 11, RB 41 off the board, but if he becomes the guy, then you got a running back getting touches dirt cheap. The thing about this, he wasn't efficient last year with the Broncos. You see some efficiency dichotomies there. However, Javonte Williams at one time was a running back that a lot of people coveted due to his vision and ability to create yards after contact. If we get back to that, that could be something good. But there's also a probability or a possibility that Miles Sanders eats into the workload or takes it over. And then you also got the young running backs waiting in the wings. But the news is he's running with the ones, and he had some good runs. Chris Godwin's still hurt. He's still coming back. So we're looking at the wide receivers on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jalen McMillan finished the year out strong last year, being drafted as wide receiver 71 off the board. Had a decent target share, but in the ramp-up period, there wasn't much. He had some injuries baked in there. And then the back nine of the season, that's what you want to look at. And the targets then 7, 6, 7, 5, and 6. So he was getting volume. And there's a chance that could still happen, even with the Mika Buka there. He's cheap, though. The upside's there. We got a report Baker Mayfield. This time last year, he was building a very good relationship with him. We saw that in the clips. Round 14 draft capital. It's probably going to increase a little bit, probably going to rounds 13, 12 with the news of Godwin. But this is a player that can command a good target share in this offense. Mike Evans, if Father Time bites him in the nose, that's going to be a big issue, and that could help Jalen McMillan's stock as well. He's cheap. If you're looking for a cheap dart throw at wide receiver and you're sick of some of the lottery ticket running backs, you're stacked up enough, here's one guy you can look at. Staying with the Bucs here, Mika Buka is still in the same boat. First-round wide receiver. They went first-round wide receiver for a reason, possibly Chris Godwin. However, he's a little bit more expensive among underdog drafters. Still building rapport, but he's making some plays in training camp. He's got some catches under his belt. I will have that on the channel. I just got a lot of players to cover, but he will be up there. Wide receiver 47, so he's still in lottery ticket alley. There's a lot of upside. There's potential that he's a talent that takes over. Former 5-star recruit that went to Ohio State. Good pedigree from there. And he's a guy that's a very nuanced technical route runner with sticky hands. And he's a big physical slot that you can move around. That's tough to tackle. And they might like that, and that could rack up targets. Joe Mixon's not out on the field. Maybe he's back sooner than later, but we're paying attention to him. Nick Chubb's leading the way, though, in the drills. So that's a running back to pay attention to. And he's going cheap off the board. So you're watching him in training camp. I'm not going to say run out and get him, but maybe you're drafting now. Maybe you want to throw some stock. It's what you want to do. We were coming back from an injury last year. We got nicked up at the end of the season. Things look okay right now. They look okay right now. Mixon could be back anytime. It could be an ugly backfield. But Nick Chubb, his stock needs to be monitored. It needs to be watched. I'm not going to say go ahead and get him, but I'm also going to say don't forget about him either. This is a veteran running back. Was a generational prospect coming out of college. Big-time prospect. Did things with the Browns, and we knew how awful that team was. Now we're with the Texans. Got a passing game here. We got a quarterback here that can push it downfield. Faster-paced offense. Nick Chubb, if he's the starter due to Mixon being out, or if Mixon becomes out some games later on down the road, you need to look at him. You need to at least think about him. They also drafted Woody Marks in the 4th round. He's got some upside. He's a gritty running back from USC in South Carolina. This is a running back prospect that could get some work this year. And we're looking at Nick Chubb. I don't know if he can go full season without getting hurt either, because he's a veteran running back. He's had some injuries. And we're looking at Dameon Pierce, but Woody Marks is the fresh meat. Maybe you want to look at him. He's not getting drafted on underdog right now. That could change. but you need to pay attention to Woody Marks if Joe Mixon is out longer than expected. Looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're starting to get fired up in camp right now. Today's their first practice with a crowd there, but Roman Wilson's getting a lot of work. He's getting work with the ones. He's getting a lot of opportunity early in practice. I don't think this team can fuel multiple wide receivers being heavy influences in fantasy football, but the wide receiver 2 might be volatile for you. He could be the wide receiver 2 in targets, could be wide receiver 3, but the work's getting there in practice. That's something to monitor. This is a prospect that's a good technical route runner, has 4.3 speed, looked good at the Senior Bowl, was climbing stock throughout the draft process, was in a stacked wide receiver class last year, came to the Steelers at a value in the 3rd round. The Steelers are good at making these draft picks work. He was hurt all of last season, so he did not get the opportunity to fail or succeed. So we do not know what we got here. We do not know, so we got to pay attention. These next few practices, the joint practices here at training camp with the Steelers, you might catch yourself a cheap gem. And he's not getting drafted right now. Underdog Fantasy, he's fallen off the board. He's not getting his name rung up. They're not drafting him. Pay attention to him just in case he becomes a secret asset. You got to get excited about this year's rookie running back class. We're going to have some hitters that are going to come at you randomly. Rashard Smith is getting work with the ones with the Chiefs. He's getting work as a wide receiver. He's getting looks at running back. They're going to use him in the passing game. You got 4.3 speed, former wide receiver, decently recruited as a wide receiver, went to Miami. So he went to a prestigious school, transferred to SMU, was a good running back there that was productive. They can use him very creatively in this offense. He's probably going to be a weapon to some degree for fantasy football. We just got to see the work rate. We got to see the usage. But look at the running backs here. Elijah Mitchell, big-time injury history. Kareem Hunt, older running back. Isaiah Pacheco, hurt last year. We could be waltzing into some opportunity. And he is a lot like Jerick McKinnon. Different, but a lot like Jerick McKinnon, as he can be used in the passing game, the run game, and also hella athletic, just like Jerick McKinnon was. Luther Burden hasn't been practicing since May 20th, which means there's going to be more opportunities in the passing game for Rome Odunze, who was getting good opportunities last year, almost a 20% target share, running a lot of routes, 32.5 per game, and a decent ADOT at 13.8. Actually, that's a really good average depth of target. That's 11th among wide receivers. Why is that important? You're getting deep targets downfield. If you bring in a couple deep targets, every now and again, you're going to have some splash performances. He had multiple games with double-digit targets. He was getting the workload last year. The offensive line is revamped. New coaching staff. Caleb Williams going into year 2. Caleb Williams was off and on in today's practice. I got the video here. But when you're looking at Rome Odunze, you got a first-round pick. He was compared with Marvin Harrison Jr. in his rookie class. He was Midnight Marvin is what I called him because Pac-12 After Dark, watching those Washington games at around midnight, you saw him make play after play after play. He's got good size. He's got good speed. He's a good athlete. Had okay numbers last year, considering sharing the field with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, with a rookie quarterback at play, with bad offensive line. Everything was kind of in shambles last year as they were trying to figure things out. Now we're looked upon as the wide receiver 2 here. He's expensive, though. There's other players here. There's opportunity cost when you pick them up. Not just the draft slot, not just wide receiver 3. Opportunity cost. Can you afford it? Are you making that gamble? Those are the players we're looking at today from training camp. News is buzzing. Things are changing. Who are you looking at? I want to hear about that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.